getting started. My eyes on the target. Now, now. Yeah, the battle's won, still kingdom come.
That's the base here with Andrew. So I'm Alex with Acid Base. Waiting for Hector. I'm a truck driver now. I got my CDL. Gotta try it. Mexican Coke in a bottle. So we arrived to Airbnb number 2. I didn't set up the bikes at all. Airbnb in Monterey. This is actually just like about
2 men. 2 paths.
So we're gonna miss the bike cutoff.
1 mission.
The open water is a beast.
1 unforgettable story.
20 minutes out from the start of Ironman.
I'm having some regrets here, man. Dude, I want a better bike. Oh! Ah, there's one, but.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Acid Base Podcast. Going to be joined today by Trenton Martin with Thai Software. Not much more of an introduction needed than that. A long time awaited guest. Finally getting him on the show today. Let's get right into it. What is going on, man?
Well, what's up, man? Thank you for having me on. I'm glad that we were able to do this. This has been in the making for a while.
Yeah, I feel like you're like the one person who I've wanted to interview on the show for like the inception of the show who's never made an appearance.
Yeah, I had some red tape at a previous company. You know, it was a little bit harder to get on, but yeah, Ty's been awesome about letting me just get on, talk about the platform, and just be myself. And that's like the biggest part of it. You know, just
New positions, being yourself. I like who you are. So, I mean, you know, we've done some tech demos on the work side of stuff. I mean, let's get right into it, man. How did you get into logistics? What was your first role in this industry?
Okay, to give a little preface, like before I got into the industry, I like to tell people like I was a blue collar guy, right? I worked at precast concrete plants. I worked as an apprentice electrician for a while. Thought I wanted to do that. I worked in several different industries. I had a company for a little while, HMS Contracting, where I tried to do remodel work. I only give you that perspective because that's the world that I came from.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm exactly the same. Like I was a drain layer and I was like, I'm going to do this the rest of my life, and I'm in trucking.
Yeah. And it was funny because like my dad, who just beat himself up his whole life, you know, he worked blue collar jobs his whole life, like railroad, logging. It's like, don't do what I did. And that was the overarching fashion, but like, that's what jobs were available. And that's what I worked my way through college when I was doing that. So I kind of had to, and then it got to the point where I was talking to my wife. I started a business because I thought that was the way to, you know, be successful. And I had this whole idea of like what I wanted to be. I thought I wanted to be this business owner. And so because I had all these skills, I'm like, hey, this is a business I can start and like run at. And Part of that was good. It was a lot of really good learning experiences, but I was in my 20s. I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't manage it very well. It was draining me. I was working.
I think being young and getting into trades is like kind of not great because you get so much money coming your way for, I mean, what feels like so much money at that age and time of your life. And then you mix it with like very hard work. And like you kind of get your weekends where you like kind of go crazy because Monday to Friday you're working too hard, you can't spend any of it. So I mean, I completely like understand what you like. The managing of the business at that age in that industry is like it's pretty tough, man.
Yeah, and exactly what you said. Like the money that I was making, the dollar amount per hour wasn't great, but because you'd hit 60 hours or after 60 hours, you get double time. So it'd be like time and a half after 40. Double time after 60. So you just like work super hard. You get like relatively big paychecks. Again, it felt great, but you get burnt out and then you're like, I'm going to go figure it out by myself. I'm going to do this by myself so I don't have to work as hard. And then I ended up working way harder because it was just me.
Way harder.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. And admittedly, that was my shortcoming. I like was overly confident that I would just be able to go out and crush it. And then like the world like checked me pretty hard.
The world like starts whirling, bro.
yeah. So I anyway, I had some really good learning experience. That's what I'll say about it. And
yeah, I think the people skills of like going to people's houses and stuff, like just like the amount of skills you learn about how to deal with certain people and like how to kind of calm them down when things don't really go right. I think a lot of those skills carry over tremendously into white collar jobs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, that's where I learned how to sell. I was selling my own projects, and I actually did pretty good about doing that. I was just not great about managing and getting the right people to the right job sites at the right time. So long story short, I ended up finding a company that was selling like windows, roofing, and siding, and I'll get to logistics with this, but I started selling that, doing really well. And I was like, I'm never going to work a blue collar job in my life. Like if I can just sell. I remember the first time like signed a contract and they're like, oh, this is the commission you're going to get. And I'm like, I don't have to go to the job site and like actually install this roof. That is incredible, you know? So anyway, I did that for a little while and then COVID, but COVID hit right when that happened. Literally like I was like 2 months into that role. COVID hits. I'd been crushing it, and then they're trying to make us do Zoom demos, and it was a 100% commission-based job. So that's a really tough job to do, 100% commission-based. So I ended up, long story short, found a company that was like an in-office job that had a base pay. I had some inconsistent income over the last few years between the business and commission only, and I told my wife, I was like, I want to figure out a way to earn a really good living and work from home. And I told her that in 2020.
Yeah, that's the dream. I mean, honestly, I'm happy to be working from home. And I mean, it was kind of honestly the COVID thing brought us out of the office. And then I was sitting there for a few months and I was like, this is like, I could dig this. I like this. It was for me, bro.
And I never even thought of that. Like, again, growing up from a blue collar, working class family, you never even thought about working from home as an option.
Yeah, dude. I never, honestly, in my entire life, thought I'd even work in an office, let alone from my house, let alone making money from a laptop wherever I want to be. Like, I mean, all of those ideas were things that seemed like fairy tales back when we were like in the blue collar line. But that's where I like logistics and trucking. That's where it hooked me, right? Because it's like blue collar, but from a computer. It mixes those worlds together pretty well.
That's literally exactly what I was going to say. Because as I went and got I was still in like debt settlement in an office. It was just something that I could work from home because they offered work from home after COVID. And after working there for a few months, there was a guy that had worked with me that got a job at Truck Stop. I'd never heard of Truck Stop before. I never even really thought about the logistics industry. The only experience I've had with that is I used to load. I used to be a forklift operator, certified forklift operator, dude. And I used to load for it was Idaho precast concrete, but I would load precast onto flatbeds. And so I was, or Conestogas, like depending on what they were moving. But that was my only experience to logistics. And I never thought about what it was like for the driver, other than I'd feel bad if they were there for like an hour and a half. We were usually pretty quick, but heat of the summertime, I'm like trying to drop off, or I'm trying to like load everybody up. I saw how stressful that was. That was like my only qualm is like people that were driving for a living, earning per mile versus getting paid, and they're sitting there for a couple hours. I always felt bad. So I was always really empathetic to that. So that was my only real experience with any kind of logistics. So when I come into truck stop, I come in base level. It was literally just calling brand new owner operators. This is back in 2021, and asking them if they want to see our load board. It was a very simple job.
I mean, okay, take me through, like, so that's your first job, which is like, what does that phone call sound like?
Okay, so the phone
it can't
call
just be like, hey, do you want to see our load board?
So the funny thing was that job was so easy because back in 2021, if you remember, you could find lanes going $4 or $5 a mile almost anywhere, right? Like it was, it was insane. And like at that time, there were so many loads on the board. So like my typical, when I'd call, we'd get what we called were freshies. So it was fresh companies that were coming in, and they like through the FMCSA, we could see they were brand new, right? So we'd have a list and we'd call that list. And so we'd pick up, ring. Yeah. Hey, this is Trent with Truck Stop. I'm trying to reach so-and-so. And they're like, yeah, again, these are truck drivers. A lot of times they even just want to talk just because they've got their headset on, they're cruising, like whatever. And I'm like, yeah, what do you got? It's like, hey, yeah, no, I'm calling from Truck Stop. As you know, the industry has some pretty incredible rates right now. And Truck Stop is really looking for new owner operators to kind of cover loads. And it was just, we would find whatever talking track it was for the week. Sometimes we'd be like, hey, I noticed you're in Wisconsin and we have a lot of loads coming out of there going to a different area. Where do you prefer to move? Are you more regional, or are you going over the road to chase the money? And we, again, cold outbound is such a game of not pitching. It's a game of just trying to get a conversation started.
Yeah, that's actually the sickest way you could put it, because I did that for about a month or two when I came into brokerage. I just started calling like carriers, like just blasting cold calls to carriers, seeing like what they like, where they had their trucks and stuff. Yeah. But like my biggest thing was like you said, to not pitch them, because I was a carrier literally like 5 days before I started making those phone calls. And so I call them like, listen, like, I'm not your typical bro. I was literally you 5 days ago. Like, I just want to know where your trucks are. I just want to see if we can like get you some freight. And like you said, like when you're doing the cold outreach, like people can smell a sales pitch. Yeah. Like, I mean,
and that's the thing. And that's the thing. So many people, again, like I know I'm guilty of it. If I get a sales call and I pick it up, I'm just like, dude.
I used to be like that, honestly, until I started working in trucking, until I started like getting into LinkedIn, where like I read a LinkedIn post like a couple of years ago, and it was like, I don't know, something like just give people a chance. Like, I mean, you're cold calling, like you should listen to some cold calls. So like I started doing that, but because I live in like Europe, it's kind of different because it's not even in English half the time.
Right.
But I always ask them like, hey, like, do you speak English? And if they do, like, I'll listen to their pitch. And my favorite one was like the most recent one where they were trying to sell me an air purifier. And I thought it was like a really weird cold call, because like that's not like something that you should really be selling on a cold call. In my opinion, I don't know. It was weird.
Right.
Weird.
That's again, to your point, I've been a lot better about that too, because I understand. But the general like overall feeling, as soon as you know it's a school, it's like, okay, like then there are people that will not take them and they shut it down. But for example, you get that and you just like, okay, I want to get to the point. I know we're not friends. We're not going to like make a friendship at this point in time. Like, let's just start this conversation. And really, like, if you can start a conversation with somebody, and I usually try to make something funny. Like oftentimes if they ask me how I'm doing, I'll say something silly like, oh, couldn't complain. And if I did, hope nobody'd listen. And like, it's just a way to get them to like lower their guard and be like, oh, this is a human being on the other side. This is not a robot. And
I don't know, in all my phone calls, nobody's ever said that. I would actually laugh pretty hard. Like that's a good one. Like,
and it worked. Like I stole that. I can't even take credit. I think I stole that from somebody I heard years ago on the phones.
But I mean, take me through that first like week or day or month working. Like, I mean, how I don't know, like how are your feelings about the job? Because obviously it's more so just like cold calling, like sales type of role. So it's not like specifically very logistics focused, but I mean, how did you feel about the industry? How was the environment? Was it like super fast paced compared to, I mean, working like concrete, man? I don't know.
So all great points, because again, coming from like the blue collar work ethic of like, you always have to be doing something. I thought it was so weird how much time people would walk around the office and like they call it like the water cooler talk. And I was sitting there my first few weeks, I was glued to, I had my headset on and I was just staring at the screen because I didn't
just productivity like to the maximum. Like,
yeah, and it's a completely different world. And so like I was sitting there and we used to have this auto dialer and they wanted to get us to like X amount of dials. And I'd always blow past that. And I was doing really well. And again, I'd had enough sales training from the last, the prior year that I'd been in sales in different industries where I could like, again, it's not so much the pitch, it's trying to get them to start that conversation and then uncover like what issues they're having. Again, in 2021, I have to say that job was so easy because as long as you can get them talking, a lot of them were truck drivers. A lot of them had their headsets on and they're like, sure, what do you got? And that became really easy. It's like, hey, you're a brand new owner operator. You're trying to find, you're trying to find the highest paid freight that will work with new owner ops. Let's take a look at the load board and see what we have available for you. So it was a really easy pitch. Again, 2021, I feel like everybody was trying to find load boards because capacity was really tight. So we do that. I only do that job for a few months. And the carrier side is funny. I'm going to say this. I had a really good time because carriers, when they don't want to talk to you, they will absolutely destroy you. And I used to save some of the, my best cold calls, like the ones that would just say the most offensive, like horrible stuff to me. We'd share that in our internal chats and be like, dude, listen to what this guy said to me.
Yeah,
and
we did the same thing in dispatch, whether it was our drivers or a broker. Like, I mean, we all share like the funniest sound bites out of it. I mean, 2021, 2022 market was just like, that was like an everyday occurrence where like somebody was aggressively, because like somebody was making a lot of money that day and somebody was losing a lot of money that day. Yeah. And sometimes it would be, honestly, like it could be the driver, it could be like it could have been anybody because per day basis things were so different back then.
Yeah, and so it was actually a fun environment. I knew I wanted to like progress, and that's just how I'd always been. Like I promised my wife again that back in 2020 when everything kind of fell apart with the business, I was like, I want to find a way to work from home and earn a good living. So like I was so focused on doing a good job there so I can kind of grow within the organization. And to their credit, I have a special place in my heart for Truck Stop, always will. They allowed me to go in there and like I worked really hard to get but I promoted up every year or two. Like I guess the first one was only a few months, but then every couple of years I'd be promoted up, and it was just working really hard and then doing the right thing. And they gave me a great, platform to be able to do that. But the first few weeks, again, it was like on the carrier side, and you have to kind of get used to the corporate world. That's a little bit different. I'm sure you had the same thing, right? Where you come from blue collar world where if somebody messes up, you go directly to them and you can like read them the riot act. And
I had my fair share of forgetting where I am moments getting into office work.
Yeah, dude. I had one manager, this not even it was a debt settlement place. And anyway, long story short, a manager had to pull up an email from me. And in our one-on-one, he was like, so we can't do that to people. And I was like, whoa, I don't know why you're being incompetent. And like, to me, again, from the blue collar world, if somebody messes up, like it's on them, the onus is on them, but my tonality was sharp. Right. And again, coming from the blue collar world, you understand you have to like dole out a little bit, it's like, okay, I can say the same thing and be
you just have to say it like nicer. Like you can say exactly everything that you want to say. It just has to be said in different words and like a different tone, but you can still get your point across, which like became sort of a side game for me because it's like, how far can I push this until somebody gets mad?
Yeah, no, and it is funny, like just circling back. It's like, come on, man. It's just funny how there is that universal language that we all understand what it is, but it's office appropriate.
All right, man. So we go from cold calling to sell people load boards, and then you get into sort of demo work, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah. So long story, I got promoted pretty quickly to the brokerage side, and that's really where like the origin story where it really kind of takes off is I was only in the carrier role for 3 months, and then I started prospecting to brokers, and so it was a completely different world. Again, this was in late 2021, early 2022. The market was still pretty solid before it started coming down. And then after a while doing that, I got promoted into like an account executive role. So that's where I'm like doing demos.
That's where you get to say I'm an AE, which is like something I actually had to
I,
Google because
it's AE is so funny to me. It's like I'm an executive, like kind of
Yeah.
like I'm a sales. It's all funny, like all the different names that you have for salespeople. It's performative. I always used to make fun of myself when I got promoted. I was like, "Hey, buddy, you're talking to an account executive here." Like ridiculous, right?
I don't know. It's just funny because the blue collar jobs, right? Like you can run meetings that are worth like millions of dollars on like massive contracts, massive projects, and like it's just done in a very like exactly how we would talk to each other right now type of way. And then I get into this world and they're like, "Oh, you would bomb a C-suite level meeting." I'm like, "Yeah, well, I don't even know what that means." So
Yeah, like C-suite. I want to get to the A suite. What are you talking about? Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So that's like I was working again when I made it to that AE role. I was working as an expansion rep. So like I was cross-sell, upselling existing truck stop customers, and that's how during that time I started using a little bit prior when I was a BDR. I was using LinkedIn for prospecting, and I kind of wanted to get into this a little bit just because it's so relevant to like how I've made it here to Ty. It'll eventually kind of follow in. Is when I started using LinkedIn for prospecting, I was like repost the company's like thing and be like, look at how good our company's doing. Or I would like comment on a CEO's, post and be like, fantastic results, or something just super square because I was
just like the most bland, like corporate way about using the service.
Yeah, and I was again like we're talking backstage. It was like that's how I understood it at the time. That's how most people understand it.
I mean, I think that's how LinkedIn should have been used, and then somewhere along the way, I mean, that's just the industry that we're in, right? Because like I've managed to get connected to people in like the tech space and like AI is sales space and like so many different like spaces, like randomly. I became like really close friends with like people that just do like completely different industries.
Yeah.
And their LinkedIn networks are a lot more like reserved, right? Like they are a lot more professional. But then like that's the industry that we're in, right? I like the fact that it's kind of gone the other way. But I mean, take me through where you found your value in LinkedIn, obviously.
Oh, yeah, that's because it ties in so much to where I'm at now. Is again, I was doing what you were saying, like what LinkedIn should be used for, and then we were talking about this a little bit. There was somebody that had commented on a truck stop post, and back when I was first using it, I would just always follow people, or I'd send a connection request to anybody that commented on the truck stop post because it was really easy for me to like try to connect there because they saw that I was from Truck Stop, right? And especially when I was an expansion rep, like I was supposed to service our existing Truck Stop customers.
I won't even lie. Like if you view my profile, like you're getting a connection request. Like it's just that's a cheat code on LinkedIn.
Yeah. And so I went there and it was somebody, this lady Katya, and I don't even know if she's still on LinkedIn anymore, but moral of the story, the reason why this stands out is she said something super off the wall. And I was like, whoa, like that's not LinkedIn PG. And I remember
that doesn't belong on this platform.
Yeah. So first of all, it was like off the wall. Second of all, she messaged me personally after I connected with her. It's like, you're a truck stop, kind of gave me the riot act of like what we needed to do. I forget what it was, but it was like the first personal connection that wasn't professional. And I thought it was funny. Again, it was like way over the top. But when I connected with her, what's funny is I was talking to you about earlier that I found you super early on in this, like, again, like our freight LinkedIn space that's like way more personalized. You were one of the first people. There was like Reed. I don't know how to pronounce it, Lustalot or Laustalot. I'm not sure how to pronounce, but from Truck Parking Club, you know him?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So like I found you, I found Reed. There was a few other people that were like, they were being personal on LinkedIn. And so the first thing I thought of is, first of all, it's refreshing because I like connecting with those people. And then the first thing I started doing was making posts, making fun of traditional posts. So I saw somebody was like, the perfect morning, 5 a.m. I'm going to do an ice bath. I'm going to get up and do my HIIT cardio. I'm going to meditate for 45 minutes. Like, so this super try hard, and I'm not going to point out who it was, but it was so funny because I was like, First of all, no, you don't. I bet dollars to donuts, you're not actually doing that. You're trying to come off as this like thought leader. So I started making posts making fun of thought leaders at first. So I was like, 2 a.m, wake up, 1 hour ice bath. You intermittent fast. You have to meditate for 3 hours to get in the zone. Cold call everybody in the phone book, even if they're not an ICP.
It just
to
reminds me of like me. I was chilling with Paul from Free Caviar. You remember the meme where the guy's like, "I have 3 days. My first day is from like 8
Ed
a.m.
Milan.
Yeah. And then from noon to 3, and then from 3 to 10. I've worked 3 full days before you even got out of bed." Like that's just like always the tone that it takes. Like
It totally, and like I think that's like Ed is like a big leader in that kind of space, that like super alpha, like I'm the greatest thing ever space. And I think a lot of people use that because it was like kind of professional, like I'm a leader in this space. So
I think anybody else. I was in a LinkedIn post like that too. Like I don't know. Imagine calling yourself a thought leader. Like just like imagine saying that out loud and like actually thinking like that's. I don't know. Just like that whole concept to me is funny. Like,
every thought leader I've ever known never calls himself that. Other people will be like, "Hey, you should listen to this guy or this gal." It's never somebody that's like, "I'm a thought leader." Like, look at my thought leader post.
Yeah, I don't think that's like a self-proclaimable thing. Like, I don't think you could just say that about yourself.
Yeah. And so that was the low-hanging fruit of like, and I really started connecting with people, and people thought it was hilarious. So there was people, again, like internal truck stop people that would always see my post and they would like message me like, "Dude, that's so funny," just making fun of them. And then the next thing I thought about, and I actually made a conscious decision on this because I was trying to build a personal brand at that point, because I knew that was like after 2022 and the market started going down, like you see a layoff happen and you're like, "Oh man, like I was fine, but I want to like further insulate myself." So I made a conscious decision of like, how do I want to build a personal brand, but I want it to be authentic. I wanted to be me, who I am, but make it LinkedIn appropriate. I can't like just blast the group chat. They'll probably ban me, but anyway, so I started. How I took the approach is I took old school meme formats that all millennials would recognize. And I just went to a meme generator and I just started making memes that people of our age group would understand, because our age group are the leaders now. They're either in leadership positions or they're becoming leaders very quickly as the older generation kind of like, retires off. And so I thought about it very consciously, like, hey, people like me are starting to take over like leadership roles in these companies. They're going to respond to that much better than like, Mr. Bob, who's 65 years old. He's kind of on his way out. If I share a meme with Mr. Bob, like he's not going to get it. Like he's not even going to understand the reference point. Like we were talking about the meme you posted yesterday that was like, some people just don't get it, but for the most part, our generation like understands that internet humor. So I started using that to connect, and that was a way that I like kind of personified my brand as like somebody that was supposed to be funny. Like, yes, I'm a professional that's like, company facing, but I also want it to be like, hey, Trent's a real person. He's not an AI robot like typing something into Chat GPT to get his ideas.
Well, I mean, there's like 2 things that go into what I think has made these approaches successful. And I mean, the first is I remember when the Big Bang Theory came out when I was like 10 or 11 or 12, and it was like really pumping, man. It was like the height of like season 3, 4 type of height of success. And I remember like sitting in the backseat of the car when we were like driving somewhere, and the guy comes on the radio and he's like, "Do you know why like comedies do the best when like the world is not going good?" And that was like during some recession, like the economy was not good at that time. And like people take comfort in watching a comedy because it takes their mind off of like the dread of the outside world. And that always just kind of sat with me over like the entirety of my life after I heard that. I was like, yeah, you know what? Like humor is a way to get people to be comfortable in like bad times, right? And then you get into trucking and like it's all good times, but now it's like terrible times. So it's like, oh, it's time to spread some laughs, man. Because like, what else is there to do? Like, you're either gonna laugh or you're gonna cry.
That's such. Yeah, no, that's such a good point. And continue. That was that I've heard that before, but I'm glad that it resonated with you too, because it's true. People look for
Yeah,
that.
just sat there like my whole life. I was like, people love comedies because the world is tough and like we all want to laugh. And I was like, okay,
Right.
so like that was like my first approach into like comedy. And then like I always like stand-up comedy because I thought it was really like hard and cool to like just have a microphone and make people laugh. Like just to be able to stand there and entertain people with literally a microphone. Like I always thought that was cool and tough to do. And then I got into like that one saying where it's like people buy from people. You know, I heard that back when I was doing plumbing. And it's like they're not necessarily buying your service. They're buying how you made them feel and kind of just who you are as a person, right? And I think it's really easy on social media to pretend to be somebody you're not, or to be a version of yourself that you maybe want to be. But I think the easiest way for success is just to be yourself, and people are going to like you or they're not. And if they're not, you just kind of have to accept that.
Yeah. Well, and I think people can sniff out inauthenticity. I think that's something that, again, people that have been on the internet for a long time, you can tell when somebody's like, I call them tryhards. Like, I'm like, come on, man, you don't get up at 4:30 in the morning every day. And if you do, like, good for you. But like, why make it a point of every 3 months you make the same post about it? And like, it's a way to be like, hey, look at how cool I am. And
No, my favorite is this whole thing where people are like, oh, LinkedIn changed their algorithm. My numbers are down. I'm shadow banned. I'm this, I'm that. I made a post today. I'm like, man, like, is it just so hard to admit that you make the same post reworded every single day? And like, eventually people just don't care anymore. It's like, I mean, my numbers are like doing better than they've been doing for the past like month or two. I mean, like, I've been having some crazy posts lately. And it's like, you're not banned or shadow banned, or the algorithm has like nothing has changed except for the fact that you're just doing exactly the same post day in and day out. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of value in building your personal brand. And like you said, I think it insulates you from a lot of things because you become a person that people want to see stuff from, regardless of where you are, or what hat you're wearing, you know?
right. And again, they can tell that it's you, especially when it's not perfect. You know, you can tell it wasn't a chat GPT AI like prompt. It's just you going out there and just trying to present yourself to this world. And I see LinkedIn as like a 24/7, 365 conference, like digital conference. So when I go to comment, I comment on a lot of people's posts because it's like if two people are talking at a conference and I want to talk to one of those people, you know, you kind of go up and you're like, oh, hey, I heard you said this. It's kind of a harder barrier of entry to even make that happen versus on LinkedIn, you just like drop a comment and then somebody can see that.
All of a sudden you're a part of this conversation. Like,
Yeah, and like that's how I grew most of the people that like started, you know, connecting with me. It was just like commenting on people's stuff. I usually try to make it funny and lighthearted. There are times I'll like push back when I see something, just especially in the sales industry, people trying to do like the super thought leader, like, and if they're legit, like if especially if I know they're legitimately like very high level professionals, that's one thing. But when I'm like, all right, bud, you've been in this role for like 3 months and you're trying to tell the world
now you're an expert, bro.
that you've got it figured out, and I'll like do funny pushback on it, and like, again, kind of tying in how I got to where I'm at with LinkedIn. I've just started doing that more. I started getting people connecting with me because I was a person, and I wasn't just like somebody reposting whatever, you know, my company was posting that day. It became this actual community of people. And then that was like how the whole Free Trent movement thing kind of tied in. And I'm not going to go down into that because that's Robert, but Pedro, you know, Potato, as he goes by.
Yeah, I remember seeing the shirts.
Yeah, so like, and save that for another time. I'm not going to get into that, but like, it was a whole thing where I went on the podcast and I thought I got the proper approval and I didn't. And then I was put on this thing and I got flack for it. But then, I mean, I was just myself. And the funny thing is, it'll totally tie into everything I'm talking about, is as I did that, then Truck Stop was like, oh, maybe we'll get you some.
I had to fully stop myself from making like, you know, I'll tie it into.
I know I do that a lot, right?
I couldn't, honestly. I tried to not do it, but like, I had to do it.
I know. I think I say a lot more because I use it as like as like a read in to the next thing. Like, oh, it actually ties in. But anyway, so when I did that, I got in front of quite a few eyes, and I got this media training, and I kind of learned how to address this area. I never had
I forgot about that was honestly one of the funniest things that I think I ever read. It was like where you had to go to the media training thing. Like I never talked to you about it. I never like thought about it again, but I remember reading a post about that. I laughed so hard about that.
Yeah, and like again, it was actually like great to learn. It was just a way for me to think about the way I present it, the way that I want to leave a message, like have a directive message where people understand what I'm trying to get at. Because I'm a rambler. I will just go off in a random direction until you like kind of corral me in. So I did learn a lot of really good things in that media training to be able to have a better message to tell, so people actually walk away with the feeling we're trying to present. And so how it leads into everything is I started building that brand. I got some of that exposure to media training. I was connected with a lot of people in the industry, and when things are shifting, and as you know, like the market's pretty crazy right now, and there are freight companies having a hard time. There are software companies that are having a hard time. They're trying to figure out a way to kind of like re-image themselves, or they're trying to figure out a way to economize to be able to deal with the market pressure. And so when I saw some things at Truck Stop, I'd seen I think it was a really good move for them to bring on Scott, bring back Scott. And so he came in and started innovating again, which is great. But I knew that there was going to be a whole different direction that the company was going. And around that time that was happening is I had a recruiter reach out to me, and they were like, hey, would you be interested in hearing out an opportunity? So how I got to tie, how it ties in, right, is I had that messaging right before my child was born. Literally, somebody reached out. I was supposed to connect with them at BCS in Indianapolis earlier in the year, and it just never happened. And then they reached out at the right time. I was about to go on paternity leave. I was unsure of the direction that I was going to take, in the company that Truck Stop, or in the rebuild that Truck Stop was trying to like frame. And so I was like, yeah, I'll hear it out. And so I met with Sal and Sean and like immediately hit it off. They've been incredible. I'm like very blessed to be here. I want to say that directly, but we connected, and everything that I wanted to do in the industry, I just want to help. And that's a genuine thing of mine. Like, yes, I want to make sales, but I want to help people because selfishly it feels good, right? Like if you can help people, it does feel good. So it is a selfish act to help.
But I mean, like even when I did those demos with you about like some of the old tech stuff, it was like you weren't getting. I mean, well, technically we had already purchased the product, right. So I mean, technically I already had your time on that. But like you were there, just like you showed us more in that like 10-minute meeting than I've known about the service for like 5 years. And I mean, it's like that genuine feeling that you like. I can genuinely tell that you just enjoy actually like the product that you sell. You just enjoy showing people how it works and stuff.
Yeah, like I think that was kind of my key to success when I was at Truck Stop, is like genuinely just focusing on like, all right, there were times I would tell people like, you know what, maybe this isn't the right option for you. And people really like that. And when it is the right option for them, they'll come back to that because they feel heard and they feel respected. And you didn't just try to like slam them into an option they didn't need. And so the same thing here, like when I came to Ty, it was like, hey, we're trying to build this, outbound motion. We're trying to figure out the best way to get in front of our ICPs. I'm building out the actual sequences, or you might call them cadences. So like how the emails are written out, what we're trying to address in the emails, how often.
Okay, so let's go through it, man. So take me through your new sales pitch, your new kind of outreach on the service. Take me through it as if I was somebody that had maybe expressed some. Okay, so let's just go through the hypothetical, which was true a few months ago. So I'm a broker. I need a new software to run my brokerage. Where do you fall into that story?
Yeah, so Ty, it specifically works with freight brokers. I kind of mentioned that earlier, right? We want you to be the hero of your own story. We want you to be able to do more with less. And so one of the main features that we focus on is automating the menial tasks. So that way it gives you time back in your day. So when you were a broker and all of the clicks that you had to do, or if you got an email from your customer asking about a lane, hey, I need a quote, that customer might have just sent that email to you. That customer might have sent 10 people out. Oh, hey, Amy, what's up? But again, being able to quickly and confidently go and quote that lane to your customer, so then you can find a carrier with confidence. That ability, if you have an Excel sheet with all of your pricing in one thing, and then you have a pricing thing that's in another, and you have like 4 different screens going, and you're trying to find the right quote for a customer, if it takes you 15 minutes to get back to that customer quote, you might have already lost the load, right? You might not have won that load. If they only send it to you, that might be a great option, and you might be able to take your time.
So let me be that customer then. Let me say, okay, we already have an existing software, and I don't want to name any names just for the sake.
Right.
I don't want anybody to
legacy, whatever. Yeah.
Let's just say I'm using generic software number 1. Like, where would you guys be able to provide me a better service in that scenario? Which obviously is tough for you to answer because we don't know the exact software that's being used. So
right. So in general, we have like an email processor. So if an email comes in with a customer asking for a quote, we can it pulls that information into the TIE software. So then it actually builds that quote out for you. So instead of manually typing everything out, or there are some people that won't type out the load unless they've won it, right? So if the customer says yes, then they'll go in and build it. Well, you don't know how many you won or lost. You don't know your win-loss ratio if you don't track every single one of those requests from a customer, right? We also have an ability for the customer to log in directly to a portal that you give them access to on the back end. So if they're not sending you emails, they can go to your back end and then send the request there, right? We have all the EDIs capable. We have open integrations and APIs with all of the major companies. So if you needed to look at the truck stop data and the FreightWaves data and the DAT data, we put it in one screen for you. Right. So you're not going to.
That's actually pretty dope. Yeah.
Yeah. So like think about it, when you're making that request, you want to be quick back to your customer, but you want to be accurate. We already know that rates are kind of diminished right now, and we have to go off of what the market is supporting, but we want to make sure we're low enough to win, right? But we have to be high enough to be able to pay a carrier a decent wage. We don't want to have to find a sketchy carrier. So like having all of that data in one screen, and on top of that, it has all of the carriers that ran that lane for you because it automatically recognizes the lane. So it's like, oh, hey, Joe Schmo trucking company ran that lane for me at this rate 6 weeks ago or whatever. So now you have all of the market data, and then it has all of the data.
Hit him up again about it. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So then you could one click it to Joe if you want. Or if Joe doesn't answer, you can one click it and auto. We have open APIs to all the load boards, right? So if you want to auto post to the board, you can hit one button, it'll send that out. So
I honestly loved that feature. I can't remember who had it or what we were using. It wasn't even a TMS. It was like something proprietary. And like I remember we were able to post freight within the TMS. I was like, holy dude, that was like a game-changing moment because they would go to all the load boards from the one button,
And again, it's allowing you to do more with less time.
Yeah, and I won't even lie. That was the sickest feature. Like,
and a lot of people love that. A lot of people, again, when you get closer towards the end and you have signed paperwork, if you got a signed POD, they might have to send you an email with a picture or a text or whatever. Like they have to send that document back to you. Well, if we have an email processor that can be able to take that and then turn it into the system to be able to capture it, that saves people a lot of time. And so if you think about your day and it takes you X amount of time for any one of these tasks that TIE can actually automate, and there's custom automation workflows. So if you don't want something automated, you don't have to turn it on, but you can automate.
What's your guys' success rate, like rough success rate on that email POD feature? Like, does it have to be the POD sent within obviously the low numbered email? I would assume that's how that would work.
Right. So I know the success rate is high. I would actually point you directly to one of our sales engineers.
No, I'm not. You don't have to pull a figure out of a hat here.
Yeah, no, but it's again, it's good enough for that to be a reason why people are still using
Yeah, I mean, even if it's like 1 out of every 10, like that's still one less than I had to go chase down. It's a cool feature. I've never heard of somebody doing something like that.
Yeah. And when you think about that, and we have case studies that people can go to the website and just like check them out, like American Logistics, once they went on, you can see their load volume increases because it allows their team to get more time back in their day, which they can either then go and try to find more customers, right? Or increase their load volume, because if they're getting those email blasts from customers that are going to 10 people, if you win more of those loads because you're quicker to the draw, right? If you're able to accurately and quickly get that quote back to that customer and win that freight before somebody else even has a chance to quote, you're going to increase your productivity. And so that's the name of the game. If I can leave anybody with the feeling of Ty, it is we are making you the hero of your own story. We are not eliminating people. We're allowing people to maximize the efficiency, and we do everything for you. We have our team internally. So if there's an issue, you're not going to have to call some third-party company and wait in line. Like, you call us and we handle all of those things. So if the overarching message is like, let's put more time back in your day so you can go out and directively focus on being successful.
Yeah, I think that's the sickest way to end that entire kind of segment talking about them. And I guess like it kind of just is going full circle here, right? Because I've heard many things about Ty throughout my like years sitting on social media as like almost a day job. And it's like all the things you hear, good or bad, and then you like have somebody that you know who's built a brand like around being authentic. And then you sit down with them and now they're there. And it's like, okay, well, like if somebody that I know and trust is now working there, obviously that would give me a better incentive to trust the company. And that like brings us back to how effective LinkedIn can be for yourself. And it can also make you an asset to a company, right? Because if people know you and trust you for being, you know, authentic and honest, and then you go into a company that may not have the greatest kind of aura about them, that's an asset that you've built out of thin air pretty much just by being active on social media.
Yeah. And again, like it helps me with prospecting. So if I send somebody a message, if I'm trying to like learn about a company and I send somebody a message on LinkedIn and they see I've been making, you know, funny posts that people are interacting with and they get a chuckle out of it, they're going to be more willing to respond back to my, you know, my LinkedIn message than if I'm just like a blank, you know.
No, it's completely right. So like I'll send you there's some YouTube short. This one guy makes like all these like really funny meme videos, and my editor is absolutely one of the people that uses ChatGPT way too much. And like I'll send you one of the videos. It's so funny. It's like, how are you doing today? It's like, oh, let me ask ChatGPT. And like my editor is 100% that type of a guy. And I can't remember where we were, but something happened and I don't know, like remember what the topic was. Right. And I had said something like, oh, like I can't get a hold of this person. And my editor is like, yeah, but you're like famous. And like it like in his like he doesn't understand much about LinkedIn, right? And so like he's like he sees my numbers and thinks that I'm like famous on LinkedIn. And he goes, yeah, but you are. And then he ChatGPT's my name and like shows. He's like, look, even ChatGPT knows who you are. And I was like, Jesus
that's funny. That's pretty funny. Hey, you've made it, man. If ChatGPT knows who you are, that's LinkedIn.
Yeah, that was like him trying to explain how far I've made it in my career. He's like, look, ChatGPT doesn't know who I am, and he types in his name. He just doesn't exist.
That's funny, but again, like it goes back. You were one of the first people I found in the actual what I'll call like the freight community, because there's truck drivers, there's freight brokers, there's dispatchers. Like we're all in there just talking smack every day and having fun.
Yeah, there's like the same 200 people on a daily 5 days a week basis. I mean, it's not like a huge amount of people, but I mean, that's not a small amount of people either.
Right. And like,
I'm talking making content 5 days a week, not just people like watching, commenting.
Well, and even think about this, like Truck Stop had never sent me to a conference of any kind. Right. And then after, and I've been there for a couple of years. And then after I had like made some noise on social media, like just like having people connect with my story, because sometimes I post a lot of funny stuff, but sometimes I post some serious stuff about my family, like my dad and I's relationship. That was like my dad and I didn't have a relationship for a long time, and he had to
I've been following that one. Like that's the thing when you make content, right? Because like a lot of my stuff will be like very funny and just like meme focused, and I kind of like got back to doing a lot of meme stuff. But then it's like there's that stuff like when you post stuff like that, it's like you never know who's going to connect with it or who might need to hear it. And there is obviously serious things mixed in with the humor because I mean we can't just always be funny all the time. And there's like we're at a crossroads in our industry, whether people want to admit it or not, where it's like people are at a breaking point. And I mean, I just had this conversation with somebody that has sent me a DM about a story I posted, and they were like, man, everything's about to explode. I can feel it. Everybody's sick of everything. And I told them, like, I don't think anything's going to change. I think it's going to be the next 5 to 10 years. Everything's going to be exactly how it was. Even if all these drivers get kicked out, the money will flow. People will replace them. Like, I don't see trucking changing fundamentally anytime soon, but people are at a crossroads. Like, people are upset, and there is fundamental issues in trucking. And I think it's kind of tough to not talk about those things. You know,
and I think, and we talked about a little bit about this backstage, is like people will almost use that as rage bait. And there's this weird thing where, again, like carriers will point at brokers as like the reason why everything is wrong is because you selfish brokers. Then brokers will be like, no, look at the shippers. The shippers aren't willing to pay anything. And then the shippers go, well, like, look, my supply chain is difficult to handle, and I need to drive down costs because of inflation. So like nobody is taking kind of any accountability.
Zero accountability.
It's just like a pointing thing. But like, think about the most viral posts that you see in our little community. It's always somebody like trash talking a broker or trash talking a carrier for some reason. And then people, it's like really provocative. People jump in on it. I try to stay out of that because it's like, again, coming from the software end, I work with freight brokers. So obviously I'm more connected with that side of things. But I totally see it from the carrier side is like, man, when I go to conferences and I hear a carrier go, yeah, they threatened a freight guard if I didn't do that. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's getting to the point though. It's like, if you keep just trying to freight guard people for like the most ridiculous things, then it becomes then it's like, don't even look at the freight guards because
like at what point does it matter anymore? Like,
because again, and I think that is something in the industry right now that's changing, because like a year ago, if you got a freight guard, and I remember, I'm not going to mention who did it, but there's a company, it's like, hey, there's going to be a freight guard and we're never going to remove it. And people freaked out, right? It was a whole thing. And obviously how you've kind of approached that directly ties into how you look at it. But like from my perspective, just as somebody that would get a call from a carrier, because when I worked on truck stop side, they had asset sides to their brokerage. So even though I was working with the brokerage, was like, yeah, my asset guy pulled up and they got a freight guard for like the most ridiculous thing. And I was like, okay,
I'll give you a funny story about that. It ties right into that. It's like we solved a case where a carrier came to us. They had like an unreasonable report on them, and we solved it with the broker. We had dealt with the broker. The broker was like actually like a really cool person in the end. And it was just like an emotional kind of situation. And it all worked out in the end, right?
Good.
And then like a month or two goes by, and we get another email, and it's from the guy who removed the report. The broker who removed the report says, hey, my asset side got an unreasonable report. Can you?
That's funny.
I laughed so hard when I read that email. Like,
right. And again, like,
it's like you were the unreasonable guy 2 months ago and you figured it out. You righted the wrong, and now it happened to you. Like now your asset got like the unreasonable report, and you like he came to us through. It was just such a funny situation.
But again, like that service, it was so important. Like when the thing changed with the said software company that like decided to make that happen at the time, again, I'm getting people that were like freaking out about it, because then brokers were trying to use it as like a bully point. And I know that was happening. Not every broker, I want to be very clear, but there were certain brokers that would try to use that to like really, get into people. But what's funny is I talked to a carrier, guy that I made that post about software last week about how OG transportation people, how the industry's changed. And you tagged the Thank God for Trucking guy.
Oh yeah, I love that guy, Brian.
Yeah, awesome dude. We actually had a really good conversation. He called me because I was just curious about his experience, right? And we had
that guy's been in trucking since like before the dinosaurs got extinct, bro.
Yeah, but it was really funny. We had a really good conversation. I connected with him, but he was like, he was like, I don't even care about freight cars. They don't mean anything to me anymore, you know? And it
No,
was
he's
just,
the best because he has assets and brokerage. And one time he was dealing with his assets, and a broker's like, "I'm going to give you this report." He goes, "Fine, I'll just do it myself. I'll just
I'm,
skip
I'm glad,
myself."
I'm glad you said that. Yeah, he was literally like, I'm going to do one myself because it doesn't matter to me. And that was such a funny point. That is, I feel like that, at least for me, that seems like a change in the industry because it used to be like a really feared thing.
Yeah, no, I'm happy that eventually and slowly, like, okay, obviously it still like is a problem,
Right.
but it is, as you're saying, it is shifting. However slowly it is, but it is right where it's like, especially in our LinkedIn community, especially in our social media community, it is shifting to the point where it's like, listen, if you do something absolutely egregious, like somebody will come and find you and make it known that you did it.
Yep.
And then on the flip side, people also are now starting to actually read stuff where it's like, oh, okay, this doesn't seem very serious.
Right.
So,
again,
I mean, there is a shift going on in that regard.
Yeah. And then again, I don't want to, because there are cases where obviously freight guard, like a broker is trying to freight guard because there was some actually fraudulent thing. And
I support reporting absolutely trash carriers all day long.
Yeah.
Like I absolutely, like, I don't know. That's the thing, right? It's like, I'm against bad reports, which apparently people think that I'm against all reports. Like, I don't understand how like they think that works. Right? Like, if somebody steals my freight, I'm gonna give them, or like I'm gonna tell people about it. Like, I just don't understand that mentality, right?
Yeah. And again, I think it's like they're trying to paint people into one side or the other, which is like not the way you should look at any context.
Anything in life, yeah, like not even freight, but just absolutely anything.
Yeah. But no, that's it. I'm glad, like you said, I think there is a change. I think what you're saying to your point is there's this weird breaking point, and we're trying to understand what that's going to mean, right? And again, all I can say is like, if you're looking for efficiency as a broker, Ty has some things that might be able to help out, right? So I'm gonna. All
right, man. I'm gonna end it there. I thought you were going somewhere else. You snuck it up on me. You snuck it in.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug.
That's a shameless plug. I love it, man. I'm gonna end this show today, man. We're going back to the roots with chicken wing choices. I don't know how familiar you are with the segment, but I mean, it goes something like this: would you eat chicken wings? Are you a drums or a flats kind of person?
Oh, flats.
Oh my god!
I know.
I'm starting to think that I'm the only one that eats drums. Like, I'm actually legitimately starting to think it's just me. Like,
okay, I will say this.
I thought you were a drums guy. I don't know why. You kind of got like a drums guy look about you. Like, okay, I don't know.
Drum meat is better, but you have to work at it. A flat, I take a flat, I grab it,
do that,
and I can get the entire thing. I'm telling you, it's more of the delivery method than it is the actual meat.
All right, man. Anyways, that's
now you're kicking me out.
Let's go ranch and blue cheese for the dipping sauce. Which one are you choosing?
Oh, ranch for sure.
All right, 0 for 2, and we go breaded or non-breaded.
Non-breaded.
It's sick, bro. 0 for 3.
What? You're a bro. Come on, man. Come on, you don't need to do that, dude.
All right, man. 0 for 3 chicken wing choices. Thank you for finally appearing on the show, man. We're gonna have to run back another show. I want to get into some more topic-based things where it's not like, I mean, obviously the first time anybody comes on the show, we're gonna have to run the standard show structure. But I want to get into some more topic-based things, like how we kind of got into the whole reporting systems and maybe TMS systems. And we're going to bring you back on to do something topic-related and a little bit more in-depth with more questions and maybe like a panel sort of stuff. That's kind of what's in my back of my head these days for the show.
Yeah, I'd love to come on. Again, we'll plan this out another time. And now that I'm hashtag Trent is free, dude, we'll make it happen.
All right, man. Thank you for showing up, and good luck in your new role, man. We'll definitely keep in touch.
Awesome. Thanks again.
It's going to wrap up our podcast here with Trenton Martin of Ty Software. If you need anything, if you're a freight broker looking for some new software, looking to get into something, hit up Trent and hit up Ty Software. And that's going to be it for today's show. Take it easy, everybody.